I am sitting here in our 2023 Tesla Model Y, which we quite enjoy, and we have now put 19,000 miles on, and we've had it since December of 2023. And we've taken on many road trips, and I've also published various videos about our accessories that we've installed in this car over that time frame. And so when Tesery reached out to me and offered some of their accessories, I took them up on their offer because there's a couple of things here that I thought it would be really useful to install. The Tesery website has their products broken up by model, and so I came in here to their best sellers of their Model Y accessories, and you can see that they have quite a few accessories. This is just their best sellers, and it just goes on and on with many pages of accessories. Now, as you may know, this center display does not rotate on the Model 3 or the Model Y, and generally it's just straight, and if we're all using it together, that's the most neutral position to have it. But there are times when I'm in here alone and it would be nice to be able to tilt it towards me, because if I'm sitting here, I don't fully reach the other side, and I mean, first world problems, it's not that hard to lean forward, but I thought, hey, why not? So I'm going to try out this tilt kit, and you can see that this bracket allows you to tilt both to the side and vertically 40 degrees. And so in today's video, I'm going to get that installed. And then as you saw here, I pushed to the side. They also sent this battery operated pump. So I'm going to be trying this out as well. And then we have here a docking strip. This is for USB ports. Now, to be clear, Tesery did send me these accessories for free in exchange for me to evaluate their products and share with you all what I think of them. And so this is just my honest opinion. They did not dictate that I say anything specific about these accessories. And right now is just such an occasion to be using this Bayu pressure pump. This is the first time I've used it. It comes with instructions and has various attachments that can be had for it. And then this is the pump itself. And so right here on the right side, this is the battery for it, and then this is the pump. So this is the pump mechanism, and then this is how the battery connects to it, and then this is where the valve or the air comes out the top, and also has this LED light. So I'm going to get this set up, and then I'll show you pumping up a kid's bike tire for the first time who hit a curb at full speed. All right, I just turned it on. You just push the power button right there. So I'm going to turn it on, and we're going to pump up this bike tire, and right now we're just trying to figure out where the hole is so that we can patch it. So I'm just going to pump it up until it's nice and tight, and then I'll be able to listen for an air leak, or if I need to, I'll put it in under some water to see bubbles. That'll do. Oh, I can already hear it. It's right here on the side. It's definitely a pinch flat from hitting a curb. That was not you. You feel the air coming out, huh, Lid? Yeah, that is a gigantic hole. So I'm gonna get that patched up, and hopefully that's the only hole. I have finished applying the rubber cement to the hole, and I'm just letting it sit out for a few minutes to get tacky and kind of dry up a little bit. And then I have these patches right here that I'm going to be putting one of these on that rubber cement. And then once that is ready, then we'll pump it back up, and the kids should be able to have lots of fun at that point. Oh, and while we're here, I should mention this is a beautiful campsite up Payson Canyon where we're camped out. We got our Starlink going on, we have a beautiful view, and our trailer is soaking in the solar. And while I'm waiting for the patch to cure, I just thought I'd point out over here, it came with a small or short USB-C cable to charge the battery. It came with this little baggie of a couple of different nozzles for, you know, filling up beach balls or air mattresses or, you know, sports balls, the traditional needle right there. And this is just a ring that goes around the top of the battery to protect the mechanism that locks it into place here. So you take that off to put it on here onto the pump. And then this right here is just a simple rubber pad. You could put this on, I guess. I'm not entirely sure how necessary that is, but it would stop the vibration if you wanted to have it set up somewhere and just have it constantly on this rubber mat. And that's all the accessories that it comes with. This is the face of the battery on the pump, and this is the USB-C cable on the side to be able to charge it. And then there's the contacts up here on top, and those contacts come into contact with these up here, and that's how it's engaged with the pump to power it up. And the capacity of this battery is 5,000 milliamp hours. If you hit this R button, you'll see here on the side the icons change, and it goes from bicycle to maybe a motorbike, car, and then to ball, like a basketball is what it looks like. And over here also it's indicating bar, and then for the first three, and then PSI for the bottom one. And when you go to PSI, then you can see the numbers are much lower, and it'll go down to 4 PSI and up to 16 PSI on the presets. But if we go to the R, go back to the bicycle, then it goes to 10 bar, or I guess it's going to less than 10 bar. But I'm not really sure why it's showing bar for bicycles and such, but just know that you can go through the different modes to set different preset pressure points based on bar or PSI. And then also there is a light button right here on the side, so you can press that, and that's this light up here. I have finished patching the tire, and I've set the pump's preset to 5 PSI. So now I'm going to turn it on, and it should show it climbing right there here in just a second, and it should stop when it gets to 5 PSI. And there it did, perfect. This right here is the previous pump that I've used for field repairs of bike tires, and it could potentially be used for a vehicle tire as well. This one though does not have a battery, so you have to plug it into a power port, a 12-volt power socket in a vehicle by plugging it in over here into a 12-volt power socket on the side of our RV. And it works great for that, but being able to just use a battery operated device is nice. The disadvantage, of course, is if you were to leave this pump in a really hot location for long periods of time, that battery is going to have very short lifespan. And so in that use case, I probably would still recommend a device that doesn't have a battery. But having a battery operated device for things like this, I can keep it in my repair bag, keep it in a climate controlled place that's not crazy hot, then this will be fantastic for that use case. A lot of the other tires were also low, so I'm going around to all of them and pumping them up with this pump. And it's really convenient to not have to worry about being close to the 12-volt power socket and being able to just walk around to all the different tires pumping them up. Now, one thing to know, in the case of my big mountain bike, it has the Schrader valve instead of Presta, and I have a Presta to Schrader adapter right here. So I can just put this into the nozzle right there, and then on the other side, it makes it so that it is able to pump up this type of bike tire. So this did not come with that adapter, just keep that in mind in case you have the different type of nozzle. Where this accessory comes into play is right here in this compartment. You can see that there are two USB-C ports right here and here. And while this is nice that they have USB-C ports, these are not in the most convenient location. They stick out into this compartment, and so in the past I have put a 90-degree angle USB adapter on here, but then that conflicts with the other port. And then also just the fact that when you have things running down into there, then this does not shut entirely, which isn't necessarily a big deal. So as you can see, this is basically a hub, a USB hub. Here on the right side it has a USB-C ports, and then on the left side it has USB-A ports. And then on the back it has these two USB-C cables. And so what you do is you basically just set this right here, but you can see there's a lip on the side. So you put that into the track on that side, put it at an angle, and put it in the track on the other side, and then pull it all the way back. And it just sits in here fairly seamlessly. Now I have a suede cover on here, so when I close this, it doesn't match as perfectly in my car as it would in just a default Model Y, because this is the same finish as what's on this cover. For me, I don't mind this look, it looks fine, but just keep that in mind. Now on the back side, you have these two cables, and so I'm going to plug these into the existing USB-C ports right here. And what I like about these is that it has 90-degree angle plugs on both of them so that they fit flush and just come straight up the wall here into the bottom of this. And now, just like that, we don't need to open this door anymore to access those USB ports. And then as well, we have now 4 USB ports instead of just the 2 USB-C. Now we have the 2 USB-A, and there are times when those come in handy to utilize when we have something that needs that and we don't have a USB-C adapter for it. Now let's talk about the wattage of these ports a little bit. Over here is the 2 USB-A ports, and those both support 7.5 watts. And then over here, the 2 USB-C ports, one supports 7.5 watts and the other one is 27 watts. So if we look down here, this over here is the 27 watt and this is the 7.5 watt. As an example here, my Osmo Pocket 3 supports fast charging. If I plug it in over here on the far side, you'll see it pops up here on the screen saying fast charging. And then if I unplug it from over here and plug it in the side port, you'll see up here it just says charging, not fast charging anymore. Additionally, over here on the USB-A side, you can see, for instance, I've plugged in here my wireless headphones, and you can see the red light on right there, so those are charging. But these do not appear to pass through data from what I can tell. Occasionally, we like to play Cuphead with the kids, and this specific game requires a game controller. And you can see down here that I have plugged in these 2 game controllers to these 2 USB-A ports, and I push buttons down here on them, and you'll see up here it just says controller required still. It does not detect the controllers, unfortunately. So I'm going to continue using this hub, and I think it's going to be a really useful addition to the car. And so now let's get this rotating bracket installed on the screen. So opening this up, you can see here on top it comes with the instructions, and it has some text instructions that go along with pictures. And I also found that there's a YouTube video online that they have put out on how to install this. The first thing that I'm noticing in here is this sticker that is just indicating where there are adjustment screws. And I think that you're supposed to stick this somewhere just for future reference, maybe, I don't know. And so let's open up this bag and see what the tools are that it comes with. My guess is, based on the look of this, that it has everything needed to install it. It has some kind of star head here that I'm less familiar with. And then we have a socket right here. And then it has this here, which is a Allen wrench on this end, and then this end has the larger star head there. And then it has a small Phillips head screwdriver right here. And then just a basic orange pry tool. And then it comes with 2 screws as well. Additionally, it comes with this bracket cover here. So this is going to be behind the display, and the base for the display comes through this. Then here is the bracket itself. And this definitely has some heft to it. It weighs something. And it definitely has some resistance here. So we'll get that installed. This is the cover for the temperature sensor. So this is for older Teslas, and this is for newer ones, and this is the one that we're going to be using. Last but not least, they have this. This is a different cover of sorts. Oh, and then over here they have this last plastic piece right here. Now, one thing to note about my particular situation is I have this top fit aftermarket tray underneath the display, and I don't know if this is going to be able to stay on or not. Maybe once the display is on here, it's going to sit differently and this won't work. You can see here on the back of the display, this tray is being held on by this thumbs up hand right here. So if I flip this back, you can see that that immediately releases the pressure on it, and this tray comes down. And so that relies on this display being where it is. And so I might not be able to use this tray anymore, but we'll find out. The first thing that I'm going to do is there's this little slot right here, and I'm going to use the orange pry tool that they sent it with and put that here in this slot. And then I will pull forward like this, and that should pop it out. Maybe I'll need to use the smaller end. There we go. Just like that. Took a little bit of pressure, but not too bad. And then this swivels down out of the way, and now you can see the inner workings up in here. And this part that I just took off, this is the back side of it. You can see this is the temperature sensor. And that's where this part comes into play that they sent. To get off the temperature sensor, you can see right there, there's a tiny little clamp. And so you put this tool up in there and push it to the side, and I can't do it and hold the camera with my other hand. But basically, once you put pressure on that little tab right there, then you can lift up on this plug and it pops right out. The next thing we need to do is unscrew these 2 10mm bolts on either side. So utilizing the wrench that they sent, I can now unscrew it. This is what the bolts look like that were down there. They're a pretty interesting tapered shape right here before the threads. Now what is recommended is to put the foam down here that was on the top of all the stuff in the box. And then now that we've taken out those 2 bolts, we can lift up on this screen, just like that. And then there's some excess in the cable here, and we can just lay this down on the pad down below. And so this is what it looks like now. This was the mounting mechanism behind the screen, and we're going to now unplug the screen. To do that, we need to unscrew the 2 screws here on either side, and these are T27 screws, and that is this tool that they provided. Taking off those 2 screws allows you to move this piece of plastic back, and now you can see right here, this is the plug into the back of the screen. It has this white plastic clamp on it that just, I guess, is to keep things straight. So I'm just going to pull this apart on the side and lift it out. You can see it just comes out easily, just like that. And then up here on the plug, there's a pin right here on the side, on the driver's side. It's easier if you push the tab with this tool right here, and then just lift up on the plug and it pops right out. For the next step, you take the main bracket and you put that in with this orientation. See these horns? Those need to be pointing down, and they just go right in here into that space. And then you take the 2 original screws, and those go into the holes right here and here. then I'll get those tightened with the wrench that they included. Now the next thing to do is take this piece right here and hold it like this. You can see how on the right side that it cuts through on the bottom edge of this hole, whereas this side over here is right in the middle. So we're going to hold that one on the right, the one that the notch out at the bottom, and we're going to set this on top of these two screws that are right there. So you can see how it fits in right there, and then over here on this side. And then you'll take this other piece here that they sent, and you can see on the top here that there are 3 tabs, and there's this one in the middle in particular. And that middle one needs to pass right here between the dash and this plastic piece. And then there are also tabs right here on the sides that clip in right here on either side. And then also at this stage, you want to make sure that this hole here in the center, you pass the cables through that hole. So we're going to pass it through like that, and then around on the other side of this bracket. So we're getting it up here in this location like that. There we go. Kind of sounded potentially breaky, but I think nothing's broken, and I got that in place. That is probably one of the trickier parts of this install, is getting that right. But this is what the final end result should look like. The tabs down here are in. You can see that tab is in. You can see it's a clean edge up here across the top and down the other side. The next thing we're going to do is take this piece right here, and we'll pass the main cord through it right there, and then we'll plug it back into its receptacle right there. Want to make sure we hear that click. Then we take this white plastic piece. I'm not really sure what this does, but you can see it has this longer piece sticking down, and so we put that downwards and then put it back into place where it was, just like that. And then we take this piece and put it down over like this and line up the holes on either side right here. And then it came with these screws right here, and we'll screw those back into place right here and be using the tool that they sent with it. For the next step, this right here, you can see there's slots on either side of this mount, and those need to go over this right here. So I basically lift up the screen right here and just push it down over those 2 brackets. The 2 screws that I need at this point are these bolts right here that were stuck into the foam, and they go into these holes right here. Now you screw these in with the tool that they provided that has the Allen wrench head to it, and I found that it's helpful to move the screen up and down like this a little bit to help get the bolts aligned. So as an illustration on this second one, I can put that in right there. And then I lift the screen up a little bit to help the bolt threads engage with the socket in the back. Now that I have those 2 bolts in right there, now the screen is mounted in that new swivel bracket. So you can see the range of motion here vertically, and then horizontally, this is the range of motion there. It looks like it goes a little bit more to the right in my case than it does to the left, and I can hear on the back that it is kind of hitting the bracket here. So I'm not sure if I did something wrong there. I don't think so. Maybe I need to push that in a little bit farther so that it won't hit so much right there. But yeah, that's how it will look. And so when I'm driving, I can now reach both sides right here, and I can also swivel this upwards and over. So that points at me perfectly. And then if the passenger is wanting to look at things, maybe the kids are playing a game, they can tilt it way over there and be using it directly. So really good range of motion. I'm really impressed with that. But we're not done yet. This is the temperature sensor that we took off earlier, and it is currently on the Tesla bracket, which doesn't fit anymore. And so we're going to put it onto this. So to do that, we're going to use this Allen wrench key that it came with, but it's actually a star tip head, and you can put that on this screw right here. You see on the temperature sensor, we have a screw right here on this side and then one on that side. And then those are going to screw into the bracket right here. I found it's easier if you use the Allen wrench in this orientation so that you can fully swivel it and get through unscrewing that faster. So this is the temperature sensor right here. And then we're just going to put that on like, looks like we got to rotate around like that. It looks like you can only do it one way. And then we'll just screw this right back on to this sensor using the same screws. There we go, just like that. The next thing we need to do is plug the temperature sensor back in. This only goes one way. There we go. And then we pass this up in there, the wires up into that hole. There we go. That's a little tricky, but I figured it out, and that's it. And now we have completely finished with this retrofit, and now we have the full tilting vertically and horizontally. Now the one thing we don't have is obviously the screen back on. So what we need to do is press and hold these scroll wheel buttons right here, which reboots the system, and that will turn this screen back on. And there we have it. It's back on and everything's done. Now you can see the screen is lower by a good amount. If we tilt this all the way to the side and look at the bracket, if you recall, the mount for the monitor, like right here, previously went into a bracket right here. So you can see this bracket brings it down, and then now it plugs in down here. So that's why it's lower, and it is noticeably lower, which could be good or bad. I'm not entirely sure. I'll kind of get an opinion once I drive a little bit more, but you can see the HVAC vent here is less blocked by the screen now because it was up so high before. I actually quite like this. I think if you want to be looking at your phones on these wireless charging pads down here, this will be bad because it's now covering up those phone screens more. But generally you're not looking down there, at least I'm not, and so I don't think that that will be a problem. As an aside, I have this top fit tray below that I showed earlier, and it does actually fit down there below now, but it is slightly tilted downwards here in the front. And it doesn't have as much of a gap here in the front as it used to. So it's not necessarily ideal. And obviously if you have something like that, then you can't tilt the screen anymore. But a lot of times we don't need to tilt the screen. And so when we do need to, we'd have to, just tilt it and that falls down. But it can technically be used there. But if you don't have a tray like that, then that's not a concern, of course, and you can tilt to your heart's content. Now, as to the difficulty of this screen tilting mechanism, I would, rank it probably 3 out of 10. It was really not that hard. There's a couple of finagly bits where it's a little bit hard to get the clasps just right to get the bracket fitting back in and stuff. But if you're not in a rush, it's just fine. It's not that hard to do. And then regarding just the Tesery accessories in general, that tire pump is fantastic. I'm really pleased with how that performs, especially with the bikes that I was using it for, and it can do car tires as well. And then the USB hub, it's nice to be able to bring those ports to the surface and more easily access them, and you have 2 additional ports to utilize as well. So I'm sure we're going to be using that in the future, because in the past we've typically had about 4 USB ports. Like our Model S, we have an inverter in the front that has 4 USB ports. Here in the Model S, we have had the 12-volt power port in the center console that I have put an adapter in the past. That has given us 2 additional USB ports here in addition to the 2 that are up there. But now that we have these 4 plus these 2 back here, now we have 6 up here in the front. I will include links in the video description below to all 3 of these products, and I'd like to thank Tesery for sending these out, and I think they work fantastic. With that, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.